My coverage of CES 2025 is brought to you by Gigabyte, Lexar, MSI, and Thermaltake. Hey guys, I'm at Corsair and I'm going to talk about two things that they have here. A new case and their new power supplies. And the case is probably one you've heard of before. It is the 4000D. The new version of the 4000D, which is called the Frame 4000D. Why the Frame? Because of this right here. Here is an open version where you can see all the panels have been removed to get a look at the interior. Let's talk about the upgrades that Corsair has done, starting with the price. The original 4000D had an MSRP of $105. It would often go on sale for a little bit less than that. This is going to have an MSRP of $99, so a slight reduction in price. And according to Corsair, they have improved everything in this case, starting with the front panel intake right here. Look at this. It's textured. It's ribbed. It's using the Corsair triangle pattern that they've been using for like a year or two now, but they sort of punched it out here, and they actually said this improves airflow. In Corsair's internal testing, which we should take with a grain of salt, but I don't have any reason to disbelieve them right out of the gate, about a 12% improvement in airflow just by adding these little bumps. I don't know if it's going to work like adding turbulence, like ridges on a golf ball or something like that, but I like a functional and aesthetic upgrade that hits kind of both of those, and I think that definitely counts. The I/O on this is down at the bottom. Corsair said that's my fault because I tell people to keep their cases up on their desk and not put them down on the floor. Corsair said they surveyed the community and apparently about 70% of people are keeping their computer case up on their desk, as they should, because you shouldn't put it down on the floor, which means that even with the I/O down here at the bottom, and you got a pretty standard layout, you should still be able to access it. It's going to be down low if it's on the floor, but part of the reason they did that was for 360mm radiator support here across the top. They have taken sort of a variation of their InfiniRail system that they had on their 9000 series, a couple screws to secure it, and that allows you to slide this rail back and forth. That will allow you to support 120mm fans for 360 rads or slide it wider. You can actually go 140 or even 160, although 160mm fans are not quite as common. Some more attention to detail here along the top. They made an extra little bump cut out here, so if you forgot to plug in your EPS power connector on your motherboard, for example, you can actually reach it. The panels are removable and replaceable, including the motherboard tray, which has cutouts not just for MSI Project Zero and Asus BTF, but also Gigabyte Project Stealth now, moving a little bit more towards a universal standard for connectors on the backside of the motherboard, which is something that I have been asking them to do ever since this started to become popular, so I really appreciate that. Even our power supply shroud down here at the bottom can be removed, as well as the side panel, and you can see they're continuing that triangular shaped design for all the perforations for the airflow. There's an integrated GPU support right here, but this entire panel can also be removed to allow you to install another up to 360mm radiator. And as you can see, we got thumb screws down here for things like the power supply, mounting bracket, as well as the rear panel for your PCI Express expansion slots. Cool thing about that is you can actually remove that and rotate it 90 degrees, which means if you wanted to do a vertical mount GPU, which you can do via these standoffs right here, the case will ship with standoffs, and while there is not a standard for the PCI Express expansion bracket, Corsair said that should align with about 90% of those that are available on the market, or you can get one directly from Corsair if you want to make sure that's compatible. Here in the back we can see a better look at the motherboard tray. We also have a bracket here for some SSDs, and then you can see with that shroud there, depending on whether or not you want to do a radiator, that's going to give you lots of space for hiding away your cables. The Frame 4000D launched yesterday as of the filming of this video, so it is available on the market for that $99 MSRP, but Corsair has some concept products over here, some expansions for the case, some upgrades perhaps. They said they will be launching at least a few of these, but they want some feedback from people on what they think is most useful. So here's a motherboard tray, for example, with a cutout for your CPU back plate, as well as the cutouts for the back to front. This one is a standard steel frame, but you can see these little square perforations. Corsair has little snap-on pieces that you can add on there for cable management, so that's pretty functional and pretty useful. A bit more geared towards aesthetics, we have this plexi version, so if you have a lot of RGB, you could align a strip along the edge. Oh, I'm sorry, you don't even need to do that. This has an RGB LED strip aligned along the edge, as well as some cable tie-downs, because you would lose some of your tie-down points if you went with the plexi piece rather than this one. Or this guy, which feels the most premium because it is billet aluminum, and it is fairly thick, and it is fairly sturdy and rigid as well. This one, they said they might even like add some stands for it and everything, and this could just be an open-air test bed frame or something like that. But I don't know why, I just really like how this one feels. It's quite rigid, quite serious looking, and that's just another option for a motherboard tray that you could swap into. You have the Corsair logo face up, that you could swap into the 4000D. It's available in white as well, of course, and if you wanted to see what the actual system build looks like in here, here one is, featuring the MSI Project Zero motherboard and an all-white MSI graphics card, LED strip along the bottom there for some accent, and of course Corsair fans and the Corsair AIO. A very nice, clean-looking build here, and also an example of how you could use that rotated PCI Express bracket at the back to give yourself a vertical GPU mount. There's a closer look at that. With just a couple thumb screws and the metal tabs at the bottom, release that, you can rotate that back to standard orientation. Next, I want to show you guys Corsair's updated power supplies. We have the RM1000X and the RM1000E. A couple different updates here. So apart from being 12V2x6 compatible, we also have these new cables. They are sleeved with a new kind of sleeving that I haven't really seen before. It's called embossed sleeving. It's going to include a cable comb along the sleeve itself. And for anyone who is distrustful of 12VH power or the updated 12V2x6 connectors, a peace of mind upgrade here is having a two-tone plug with the gray there. So when you plug it in, the gray should go away completely. If you see any gray, it means the plug's not plugged in all the way and you should reseat it. Another functional upgrade on the RM1000X over here is a physical knob for the fan control. These are going to have zero fan mode out of the box, so the fan won't spin at all, but some people might want that added airflow in their case. Just twist the little knob to turn the fan on, twist it more to up the fan speed. You could even max it out if you wanted to. I'm not exactly sure why you do that, but I guess max airflow. And yes, it does have an override built in, so if you did have that turned all the way down to low RPMs, but the power supply started to heat up, it will kick up the fan speed to cool down the components inside. We also have the HX1200i and HX1500i down here. Higher wattage power supplies, potentially for systems with more than one GPU in them, so these have been upgraded with two 12V2x6 connectors each. Corsair said this is per NVIDIA's guidance for higher end systems, so definitely for workstations, AI rendering systems, you might have more than one high-end GPU in there that requires more than one connector. But my thought is, you know, we've already seen 4090s, like Galax had a 4090 with two 12V2x6 connectors on it. The RTX 5090 has just been announced, and we've just seen some of the initial card versions from manufacturers, but I wouldn't be too surprised if we eventually see RTX 5090 models that require two of these just for a single card. But either way, the 1200 and the 1500 watt versions are now going to have two of those. Corsair said if you are planning on running dual GPUs, especially higher end ones, they recommend 1500 watts over the 1200 watt version. But guys, that's going to do it for my coverage here at Corsair. Just wanted to focus on a couple of the new products that I think you guys might find interesting, especially if anyone is looking to build a new system around one of the new GPUs that was just announced that is launching soon. Whether you're talking about the NVIDIA ones that we have more information on, or the AMD ones that are still a little bit vague and up in the air. I think either way, a lot of people are going to be building new systems in 2025, so the Frame 4000D, I think, might be interesting for folks who are shopping for a new case. Thanks again for watching. A big thank you to my sponsors for CES 2025, Thermaltake, Gigabyte, MSI, and Lexar. More videos coming at you real soon, so hit the subscribe button. The playlist is linked in the description. We'll see you all in the next one.